Good morning, bonjour. I am thrilled to be here at the Louvre talking about one of my very favorite topics, customer experience. As Laurent mentioned, I am the co-author of a book called Outside In, The Power of Putting Customers at the Center of Your Business. And the book is basically broken into two parts. The first helps you understand the business value of customer experience, really why you should care about this. And the second part tells you what you need to do in order to change your organization. And that's what I'm going to do briefly over the next 20 minutes as well. So let's dig in to customer experience. Oop, or not. I'm not sure if we have someone looking at the slides here or at our projection. This was working fine 2 minutes ago. Well, I'll go on, and hopefully the slides will join us in a few minutes. So, customer experience is customers' thoughts, emotions, and perceptions about their interactions with an organization. And these thoughts and emotions and perceptions, these are not things that we have been comfortable talking about in the business world for very long. It's only been fairly recently that we've started to really acknowledge how important these things are. I do have a flash drive if you'd like that. So, oh, there we go. Parfait. So we have seen many companies starting to talk about this. IBM recently published a study, right on cue, merci beaucoup, Laurent, called the Customer Activated Enterprise. They went out and they talked to about 4,000 C-level executives across the globe, and they said, we identified 3 key themes that will help you shape your organization's future. Open up to customer influence, pioneer digital physical innovation, and of course, my favorite, craft engaging customer experiences. The global analyst firm Gartner also published a study back in 2014 where they found that at that point, 89% of the companies they surveyed planned to compete primarily on the basis of customer experience by 2016. Not on the products that they were delivering, not on the services that they were delivering, but on the basis of customer experience. And to that end, 65% of those companies already had a chief customer experience officer or the equivalent in place. And now, of course, here we are in 2016, and these are just a handful of the global companies that have appointed a senior level executive to be in charge of the customer experience. So, why is this? Why do executives care so much about customer experience? Well, I want to share some data points with you, and the first comes from the American Customer Satisfaction Index. And this is essentially a ranking of several hundred companies, from those with the very best customer experience to those with the very worst, based on the ratings of consumers who do business with them every single day. So these are very large brands that most consumers in the US would know about. So what they've done is they've actually looked at the stock performance of those companies who provide a top-tier customer experience. And they've put them into this stock portfolio called the American Customer Satisfaction Index stock portfolio. And you can see the performance of that stock portfolio in 2013 in the blue bar. And you can compare it to the stock performance of the Standard & Poor's 500, of course, one of our major stock indices in the US. And in 2013, you can see that the S&P 500 did, in fact, beat out those companies that provided a great customer experience. However, if you look at every single year prior, dating back to the year 2000, and you look at the several years since, that trend is exactly reversed, and in some cases, dramatically so. So I hope you like this chart, but I want to show you one more that I think really puts the punch into this data. So if you had invested $100 in the S&P 500 back in April of 2000, it would have been worth, in April of 2015, about $137. It's an okay return. You could have taken your family out for maybe pizza and a couple beers. But if you had invested that same $100 in the American Customer Satisfaction Index stock portfolio, those companies that are providing a great customer experience, what do you think it would have been worth in April of 2015? Nearly $700. So, I hope this gets everyone really excited about your own, perhaps personal investing, if not the business value of customer experience. But it's also really important to understand what's driving numbers like this. And the first, of course, is the increased revenue that is associated with customer experience. So there's a customer experience, voice of the customer company called Medallia. And a couple of years ago, they looked at some real customer data. They looked at customer feedback scores, and they also looked at those same customers' future spending. They looked at that data for $2 billion plus companies. The first was a transactional-based company. And as you can see here, these are the scores that those customers provided. The customers who provided a top customer experience score were likely to spend, actually they did spend 2.5 times, nearly 2.5 times the amount of customers who provided a poor customer experience score for that company. They also looked at subscription-based companies. So the particular company that they looked at, they found that the customers who provided a poor customer experience score were 43% likely to be a customer a year later. And those who provided the top 2 customer experience scores were 74% likely to be a customer 1 year later. And so they were able to use that data to predict the length of future membership for those customers. And as you can see, if the customers gave a score of 1, a poor customer experience score, they were likely to remain a customer for just over a year. But if they provided the top 2 customer experience scores, they were likely to remain a customer for over 6 years. So that translates for both of these companies, transaction-based companies and subscription-based companies, into real revenue. Now, revenue is, of course, one of the main things that we like to talk about, but cost savings are also important. And Sprint is just one of the many companies that has gone on the record. They're one of the largest cell phone providers in the US, and they've gone on the record by saying that their customer experience efforts have led to a reduction, 18% reduction in their calls to customer service, which, of course, is a huge, huge cost savings for them. So, how can you reap the potential of customer experience? How can you gain the business benefits in your organization that we've just talked about? Well, I think it helps to talk about a company that is known for providing a great customer experience, and that is Uber. And I know Uber is not very popular here in France. However, they do provide a fantastic customer experience. And that customer experience really connects with their customers in 3 ways. First of all, they connect with their customers' hands. They allow their customers to do something that they really need to do. They connect with their customers' heads. They make it easy for their customers to do that thing that they're trying to do. And they also connect with their customers' hearts. So when we think about these 3 parts of the body, we can think about our hands and the service or product, the experience of providing being effective. Again, the head is about it being easy, not taking up a lot of cognitive load. And then the heart, we want the experience to be enjoyable. So Uber hits on all three of these things. Let's talk about being effective. Uber helps us get from point A to point B. That is really all we are trying to do when we call an Uber. And of course, this is what taxis have done for us over the years as well. They have gotten us from point A to point B. But the reason that Uber has been so disruptive is because they are now hitting not just on the hands, but on the head and the heart, which is what the taxi industry has failed to do for decades. So when we talk about Uber being easy and connecting with our heads, they do things like making it very, very easy for us to find a lost item that we've left in a car, maybe, or to get a fare review, or to get a copy of a receipt. Now, these things may not have been impossible to do with a taxi company, but certainly we would have had to run around in circles, probably for days, in order to accomplish these tasks. And let's talk about connecting with our hearts. I don't know what Uber does here in France, but in the US, you can actually, on certain days, call a kitten and have a kitten delivered to your home or office to play with for about 10 minutes. And yes, it's delivered in an Uber. All the proceeds go to an animal welfare charity. Now, you might be thinking, okay, we can't deliver kittens to our customers. How are we going to do this? Well, if you can't be as easy to deal with as Uber, you can still think about an E that's connected to the head. You can think about your customer's level of effort. How much perceived effort do your customers have to put in order to do business with you? And I know a lot of you are probably in industries where you're thinking, oh, we just can't be enjoyable to work with. No one is going to enjoy filling out an insurance application, right? But you can still connect to your customer's heart by being emotionally relevant to them. Now, Uber does this as well. It's not just about sending kittens and ice cream cones to people's homes. When Uber has provided that transparency in where the cars are in relation to our location, they are providing us with a sense of calm, a sense of security. This really has nothing to do about going from point A to point B. It really has nothing to do with how easy it is. This is really making us feel secure and connecting to our heart. So when we are thinking about making our interactions with our customers effective and easy and enjoyable, we often think about individual touch points, right? We want to think about the website. We want to think about our call center. We want to think about the new mobile app that we're developing. But this is really an outdated way of looking at all of your customer interactions. McKinsey & Company did some research, and what they found was that journey performance is significantly more strongly linked to economic outcomes than our touch points alone. Journey performance. What the heck is journey performance? Well, this is the customer journey. This is an archetypal journey, and I would argue that every single interaction that you have with your customers will fall into one of these buckets. Your customers start out needing something. They need to get from point A to point B. They need a particular piece of information. And then they seek out solutions. They broaden their search. They choose a particular solution. They narrow down their options until they choose a particular one. And then there's a give-get. I used to have this give labeled buy, but with a lot of organizations, let's take Facebook, for example, you're not actually giving money to get something in return. With Facebook, you're giving your own information to get something in return. But there is a give-get, some type of exchange, and then you use whatever product or service you've gotten through that value exchange. You probably have to fix it at some point along the way. And then, if you love that product or service, you've had a great experience, you're going to return to a previous point in that journey. Or perhaps, if you haven't had a great experience, you're going to leave. Now, this is an archetypal journey because these steps don't always occur in the same order with every company, and sometimes some customers may not go through some of these steps at all. If you look at a restaurant, for example, there might be restaurants where you give your money and then you get your food, and there are, of course, other restaurants where you get your food and then you give your money. But all of the different interactions that you have with your customer will fall into this journey. So I want to show you a couple of ways that you can document this journey in a customer journey map so that you can understand really what your customers are going through. And the first journey map that I want to show you comes from a company called Intuit. They make tax software that allows you to do your taxes on your own. But if you're not completely comfortable doing that, you can get some help from a tax professional. And this is a journey map that shows what a customer going through that process, what she thinks, what she feels, what her emotions are along the way. Now, I know that those of you in the back can't read anything on this slide. I'm guessing those of you in the front are probably even having a bit of trouble, but that's okay. That's actually the beauty of the journey map, because it's a visualization that helps you understand this customer's journey at a glance. So no matter where you are in this room, I bet you can see this left to right orientation. These are all of the steps that the customer goes through as she interacts with this particular tax professional and with Intuit. She finds out about this service. She then schedules a meeting. She waits and wonders. She has her phone meeting. She waits and wonders some more. And then she finally gets approval for her taxes and e-files. I hope you can also see that undulating yellow line that goes up and down. Where it's going up, those are the good parts of the journey for her, and where it goes down, those are the bad parts of the journey. And I want to enlarge just a little bit of the text here so that you can get a sense for the type of information that's captured here. At this particular spot where she is waiting and wondering prior to her phone call, it says she's worried, and it actually lists some of the things that she's worried about. I wonder if they got my fax. Do I need to be near my computer for the phone meeting? I'm not sure what to expect. And so we can start to understand her thoughts, her emotions, her perceptions, so that we can then figure out what parts of this journey we need to focus our resources on so we can give her a better experience and reap those business benefits that we talked about a few minutes ago. I want to show you one more journey map, and this one comes from the Exploratorium, which is a science museum in San Francisco, where I live. And this particular journey map is a little bit different. The up and down doesn't really relate to good and bad. You can see, though, again, hopefully from anywhere in the room, they've got these big orange circles denoting the most painful parts of the journey, and green circles denoting the highlights of the journey, what's working well. And again, you can see this left to right orientation. These are all the steps the customer goes through as they're going through the process of going to the Exploratorium just for a day visit. And what's really interesting about this particular journey map is that, again, hopefully you can see in the middle there's a box. That is the experience of being at the Exploratorium itself. But the Exploratorium realized that what happens prior to arriving at the museum and what happens after leaving the museum are also important. So they've got steps on this journey map that represent things like their marketing outreach and where the customer is learning about the Exploratorium in the first place. They've also got things like transportation and parking and noting some of the pain points that people have just getting into the museum. The thing that's really important about this is that it denotes the holistic nature of the journey. We can't just think about the core product or service that we're providing any longer. We need to think about that entire customer experience. I have a client that likes to talk about getting a diamond ring. And of course, anyone getting a diamond ring is very happy to get that rock. But there is a wrapper around the rock. And the wrapper, the experience of getting that ring, is also quite magical and wonderful. So, think about not only the rock that you're providing, but the wrapper. Now, it's important that you do not make these journey maps up based on your assumptions. You need to bring your customers in and get them to tell you what their experience is really like. This is my one cautionary note for this talk. You cannot make these up. If you base your journey maps on assumptions, you're creating a very, very unstable foundation for all future business decisions that you make based on them. So these are just a few pictures from the workshops that I run where I bring customers in to do journey mapping exercises, and this is just one of many ways that you can validate your journeys with your customers. I want to share with you just one final quote. This comes from David Metcalf, head of customer experience and customer strategy at Porsche. And he says, it's important to learn who the customer is and what they are saying and thinking, but it's also important that everybody in the business, even those who do not necessarily think of themselves as being connected to the customer, feel like they have a part to play. Mapping the customer journey can help you do that. And so, yes, customer journey mapping can help you connect to your customers' hands, to their heads, and to their heart. But it will also help you change your organization, develop a more customer-centric culture, and ultimately find the value of customer experience. Thank you very much.